So in the next couple of lessons, we're going to look at algebraic fractions. We're going to particularly look at expressions in the first load of lessons that involve algebraic fractions. And what we're going to do today is going to look at our simpler types of questions where we are adding or subtracting algebraic fractions. Algebraic fractions basically combine our rules of algebra with our rules of fractions. So if I'm adding a pair of fractions or taking away a pair of fractions, I need to apply the same rules if they're algebraic fractions. So, I mean, just to give you a quick recap, if I was to add two basic fractions like this, we follow these steps, and it's important that you watch the video that you haven't already on our 4 operations of fractions, because it'll be very helpful for any of these lessons on algebraic fractions. If I was to add or subtract two different fractions, I follow the following steps. I multiply the denominators, cross multiply, and I simply then add or subtract the numerators, and of course simplify at the end if needed. So if I was to do a question like this, 2/3 plus 1/5, these are fractions of different denominators, so I multiply the denominators to find a common denominator. So 3 times 5 is 15, so that is going to be our common denominator. The next step is I need to change the numerators, so I do that by cross multiplying. So bottom right by top left, 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 1 is 3. It's an adding fraction, so it remains as add. So that takes us to our last step. So you're either adding or subtracting the numerators depending on what type of question it is. And because this is an adding one, we just add the numerators. So 10 plus 3 is 13 over 15. So that's in the video that I've already made on our 4 operations of fractions. And if you're a wee bit shaky and can't remember how to do that, just give it a watch and a quick recap to help yourself. We're going to apply this logic to these type of questions, and even though they involve letters and are indeed algebraic fractions, the steps are pretty much exactly the same. So the first thing we need to do is multiply the denominators to find a common denominator. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then I cross multiply to change the numerators. 3 times a is 3a, 4 times a is 4a. It is an adding question, so that is add in the middle, and then we just simplify on the top line. 3a plus 4a is 7a over 12, and that is that rewritten as a single simplified fraction. Okay, and these will get progressively harder, but we'll work our way up to them. Okay, so the next one is a subtraction question, but again the method pretty much the same. So multiply our denominators. 4 times 9 gives me 36. 9 times 3b, so that gives me 27b. Okay, so bottom left times top right. 4 times minus 5 is minus 20b, and then I simply subtract the numerators because this one was a subtraction question. So I get 27 take away 20 is 7b over 36, and I can't do anything more with that. Okay, on occasion we will be able to cancel terms out top and bottom, or if the numbers top and bottom have a common factor, we can divide across by that, but again we will counter those as the questions become more difficult. The next example, okay, so again exact same logic. So multiply our numerators. AB times 5 is just 5ab. Bottom right by top left when we cross multiply, so 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, bottom left by top right, 2 times AB is just 2ab. And with that, there's nothing really more we can do, because if we look at the number coefficient of each term, 32 and 5, there's nothing we can divide all 3 of those numbers by. We can't divide through by any of the letters, because even though there's an a and a b in each of these 2 terms, there's no ab here. So that is that fraction in its simplest form, and we can just leave that as such. All right. Our next one, okay. Again, work through the steps. So multiplying the denominators, 5 times e is 5e. Cross multiply, so bottom right by top left. AE times E is AE squared. So again, if you're a wee bit shaky, you can also watch the video on multiplying terms in algebra. An E times an E would give you an E squared, of course. Let's multiply, cross multiply our other way. So 5 times 4 is 20. So we end up with plus 20 on the top. And again here, there's nothing we can really simplify further at this point. Now, I'm going to leave that there for today because there's quite a wee bit in these, and I'll put some questions at the end of the video here to try and have a go at, and we will look at more difficult examples of these types of questions in the next lesson. But again, if you haven't already, make sure to watch the previous videos on our 4 operations of fractions, as well as our videos on multiplying terms in algebra, because they will be helpful for everything that we do in these next number of lessons.